in terms of the shift in technology, what I see is that these days, I think as an HR, we need to familiarize ourselves with analytics. As an HR, we can no longer be operate as an administrative department, but we need to be more strategic using the data point to present to the management that these are the data point that is telling us this what can drive employee in terms of the retention or like in terms of the attrition. Then we need to speak the language to the business by using the technology.
Any recommendation or advice to the HR and business community that we should look at the specific leadership capabilities in the workforce, to ensure the sustainable and the engagement?
That's very important because when we look at the data of people leaving the organization, right? Across all the organization, I would say that it's mainly because of their line manager, especially when the generations are different. We need to understand that we are in a different generation and they are in a different generation. We cannot give what we want to them that they may not want it, right? So
Absolutely.
if we talk about leadership capability, I think the leader need to listen more to their team member, especially Gen Z, and also they also need to lead by example.
Absolutely.
And also they need to inspire their team member that why they should come along with them. It is not like previously the leaders like you do what I ask you to do, but these days it will not work that way, right? So this is what I want to do. So as a Gen Z, they want to look at the bigger picture. So you have, as a leader, you have to explain them the bigger picture, why we are doing this and what role that you are playing in there. And you also have to recognize them on the spot. You cannot wait like performance review time to recognize that. And they also expect the leader to give them the feedback, constructive feedback, right? So these are the few things that leader need to recognize that we cannot operate like before to manage this generation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Gen Z has less patience,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
And they also they come with the high-tech savvy.
Yes.
So that's challenging for the leadership. Right? So leader need to be ready in terms of how to manage the people in different level, different situation, and especially with different cultures and personalities. Yeah, that's great. When through the experience, when I look back, along the way, the C levels or the leadership levels are more likely very successful in their career life.
Yeah.
But when it comes to their personal life, they're struggling.
Yes.
So, in your opinion, why is that? Why they cannot manage their personal life as better as what they do in their professional life? Yeah,
so that's so true. I have worked with many senior leaders, and they may be very successful at work, but they have something happening at home in their personal life. So what I have seen is that people are successful because they devote so much of their time to make their career successful, including myself, right? And when we look at leaders, even male leader and female leaders are different. I'm one of the female leader where the demands are more on me, right? Because like if you are female leader, people look at you differently, people treat you differently. So that's why you will see that in a workplace, you may not see not many women leader taking up the senior leadership role because it's a lot of challenges. So to answer your question, I would say people forget about building their career while spending quality time with their family members, right? So because what always comes first, and the more senior you become, the more demand that you have to handle, like especially people like me who have to handle different countries, right? I have to travel a lot. So I would say I also learned the hard way how to build a relationship because I have seen people who are very, very successful, and at one point when they look back, they have nobody at the back, right? Because they spend so much of their time at work. Right. So I don't want to be like them. So from my experience, what I want to advise to the leaders is that while you are building your career, you also need to spend quality time. Quality time means you don't need to spend like 3 or 4 hours a day with your family. Just half an hour or 1 hour, make it a quality time. Not checking the emails while you are talking to your family member. So I think building the relationship is very important. For me, whenever I get time, I make a call to my friends that how are you, what is going on. Whenever I travel back to my country, even though I'm very, very busy, I make time for them to spend time with my family members and my friends. So maintaining this relation is very important, because if one day, if you look back, nobody around you, success means nothing.
Right, that's sad, right? Yeah, very interesting. Great idea. You just mentioned earlier about the diversity, right? Diversity and inclusion, that's so important. So if you come back to your corporate world, you have Cambodia, you have Myanmar and Laos, you know. The mix of the generation is one challenge. And also the diversity, managing the diversity is also another challenge. So what would be the differences between country to country in terms of diversity and inclusion?
I would say what I find it interesting is that the way people think, the way people do things, and also you also need to understand the cultural aspect. For example, in Cambodia, when I first came, there is a layer between leaders and the team member. Because of the cultural aspect, they really respect their leaders, and even though you want to get close to them, they feel a little bit of like distance. Because the seniority is there, right? So you cannot expect people to get close to you. You have to understand the cultural aspect. Sometimes it takes time for you to learn. In Laos also, they will not express their feeling openly, and you cannot force them like, hey, please tell me the feedback. They will not tell you. So you have to find way to work with this hidden cultural aspect to manage different generation and different people in these countries.
Very interesting. Would that be another challenge for leaders, especially in Asia, to manage the diversity? Because people talk about diversity, inclusion, or DIE, diversity and inclusion. In the Western world, it seems to be very dynamic, very moving very fast. Look at the Asia part. It seems that we are starting something, but still, here and there. So, what would be a strategy for you? You think and you would recommend to the Asia leaders?
I would say when we talk about diversity, right, it always seems like it's an extra job. You have to drive the diversity agenda, but it's not always the case, right? Of course, HR is responsible for that, but one of the things that we are currently doing in our organization is educating people like very basic definition of what does diversity mean to you, right? It doesn't matter like we come from different country. It is not just diversity. Even in our own country like Cambodian, we may come from different experience. It is also a diversity, right? So I think understanding the definition of the diversity is very important. And in order for us to come everyone together, I think inclusion is also important. You have to, for me, very fundamental, one of our core value is we respect and care for one another. When we talk about diversity and inclusion, you cannot forget about that. We have to respect other people's point of view, other people's ideas, other people's initiative. If we don't value it, diversity will not happen.
So diversity is not about the gender,
No.
It's all about the thoughts, decision making, the the engagement, and a lot more on that, right? So when it comes to business, people think about financial aspects, right? And anything that we do or HR do, which are not really add the value to the business, and they say that's nonsense, right? So in terms of diversity, what aspect you think that diversity would add value to the business?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I would say I would say it from the HR point of view, right? So if we have the same people coming from the same experience, coming from the same background, it's called conformity, right? It will not have, people will think the same way. Then you will not be innovative and you will bring the idea which may not work for the different customer, right? When we bring people together coming from the different background, diversity or thought, they will represent different segment of the customer to be innovative to bring the value to the customer. So I would say having a diverse kind of people will bring the innovation to the business, which will help business to grow. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that's why it is said,
Yeah.
People would recruit the same personality,
Yes.
the people with the same or similar personality
Yes.
Of the recruiters,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So diversity plays a very important role.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. Because the different way of thinking,
Yes.
different way of how people behave and
Yeah.
perform
Mm.
and engage. That's great. So when talking about leaders, people tends to see is the person who make everything happen, right? Right.
Yeah.
Do you believe in that?
I don't believe in that. So whenever I work with a new team member, I always tell them that leader doesn't know everything. Don't assume leader as a god or like Superman or Superwoman.
Mhm.
Leaders are given because of their experience, because of their work, performance.